Jesus is King. Have you heard Jesus is King?
As a matter of fact, I have. So, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Let me. I asked a friend on campus. I started university just this week, and I asked a friend, "Have you heard Jesus is King?" And he was like, "Is King Jesus?" Uh, and everybody on campus obviously is Jewish, right? So I came off as a Jehovah's Witness or something. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I realize now that like that name, that title of the album, it was beautiful of Kanye to put that as the name of the name of the album. Because now you say, have you heard Jesus King? You're spreading the gospel, like just by saying that, just unconsciously, like you don't even know, like you're spreading it. But like if somebody doesn't understand what you're saying, what you're referring to the album, then they think they're talking about God right now. And then they listen to the album and they're converted. uh,
One second.
uh, it's it's a process in conversion. Well, it's part of the process of conversion. It's it's getting the name out there, you know?
Right. Now, what if they said something like, I don't know, a different deity, like I don't know, let me, like Buddha is king. How do you think that would have went over?
See, I don't understand. Like you're saying, well, what if we were trying to make Buddhism like the culture?
Yeah. Like do you think that if instead of God or Jesus, you were to replace Buddha in there or another deity, do you think that the album would have had the same effect?
Well, it's a gospel-inspired album, and gospel is, I mean, like gospel music-inspired album, and
Mhm.
gospel music is Christian music. So obviously you're gonna have Jesus in there. Obviously, there's again, I can see that there are different ways to get up the mountain, get up to heaven or find God within yourself. But Kanye is Christian, and he's been saying that he was Christian his whole life. So you have to change the artist. You have to like go to India where or to the east, and the east is already like pretty. I don't know the situation there in regards to spirituality. I would say no, not at all. Not at all at all.
All right, well, why don't we just talk about our thoughts on the album and then maybe like discuss the higher concepts later. So what were your thoughts on the album as a whole?
As a whole, this is the only thing that I've been listening to for the past 5 days, and I've been listening to it for most, no, not most, but like 30% of my day is dedicated to listening to this fucking album. And I'm sorry I said fucking before that, but like, it's just like every time I hear Sella, one of the songs on the album, I get
Yeah.
chilled. Um, the album as a whole, I don't know, it's like made a left when I should have turned made a right. Like I don't remember which song that's from, but I could already relate to that. Like I already had an experience that I could relate to that. It's like, but I already like believe in God and or try to believe in God, but like I'm still a sinner. But just with Kanye making this album, it's that context is pretty heavy because Kanye, he was my favorite art. Well, you don't know this, but and maybe I'll explain if you ask. Kanye was my favorite artist, and art in general plays a heavy role in my own spirituality or religion. Uh, so yeah, what I think about this album in general is that it's made the heaviest impact on me personally, and more than any album that I've heard ever. Just, but that's me. That's a very personal experience. The album itself, well, because this is a personal opinion, and because it's had a major impact on my life, I'm gonna say this album is like a 10 out of 10, a 20 out of 10, whatever. Like, it's great. It's what I
So
need.
you feel like each track is flawless?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Like
I
there's nothing in it that could have been done better?
This is the only way that I rate music. That you know, I only rate music about on how much impact it has in my life, because music for me is about feelings and emotions and what you get out of the mindset that you get out of the music. And if you get a positive mindset, like as in a positive being, closer to God or closer to finding your true self, then the closer it is to that, the better it is. The closer it is to the truth, whatever that may be, the closer it is to finding yourself, the better it is. Because music is an art, and art is supposed to help you. It's a reflection of the world. It's supposed to you're supposed to find like symbols and meanings in art, and you're supposed to relate those meanings to yourself. So I found a lot of relations. So I would say, that's like
Mm-mm.
too many for me to say that it was a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, or like Anthony Fantano, big music.
Yeah.
He said 4 out of 10, but he considered he thought it was like egotistic, but because like Kanye was talking about how he found God. Well, every time Kanye said I did this, I did that, I thought to myself, that's what I did too, because for some reason
Yeah.
maybe I found ways to like relate this album to myself, just because I'm a huge Kanye West fan, I guess. I don't know. Is what I needed, I guess.
Yeah, so my experience with the album was pretty different. Um, so just for general disclaimer, I'm not a big Kanye West fan. He makes some stuff that I think is really really intelligent and creative. I respect him for his creativity and his originality. But now when I judge music, it's like I really go into like first off, so the first metric is, can I do I just like it sonically? Like, how does it sound to me? Can I bob my head to it? Does it entrance me? Does it take me somewhere? And then I'll start to dive into the lyrics more. And okay, so like just based off of a track by track analysis, I don't know if we'll go through all the tracks, but the first song, right? It's like the nice little choir gospel intro with all the singing and whatnot, and I just felt like could it could have easily been omitted, and the album wouldn't have sounded any different. Because Sella, the second track, has more of that epic uh, kind of
Tone.
pump up to it,
Hmm.
and I I liked Sella. Um, and then I'll just say the tracks I liked. So Close on Sunday I thought was pretty entertaining, and I liked that he had a positive message to it, about observing some sort of Sabbath and turning off the gram and all that other stuff and being with your family. Like, I think that's a very positive message, especially juxtaposed to a culture of clout chasing and thoughts and all sorts of unholy social media practice.
Hmm.
Uh, and then, ooh, what was the other one that I liked? I think Water was pretty dope. Mess with that one. Um, Use This Gospel was also pretty good. Um, What was the other one that I liked? I think God Is was the other one I liked.
Yeah.
That was it, right? The one with the violin in it? Was that it?
No, that was Kanye singing, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was. Well, there was the one that was. Which one was it?
I would have said water. Let me check.
No, what is a different one? Yeah, go ahead. Let's look that up.
Everything we need. No,
No, that's not it. I didn't like that one.
on God.
Yeah, I didn't like that song.
Okay. Hands on,
What's
guys.
on?
Hands on, dun, dun, dun. Hands on, dun, dun, dun. Hands on.
Wow, nothing like making the users watch YouTube advertisements while I wait to pull up a song. All right, let's. I think it was Hands On. Yeah. Yeah, Hands On. This was my favorite song in the whole album. Sonically, it was really well done. Yeah. And there's the other thing. The other thing I didn't like about the album is Kanye singing. Like he did better than I thought he would do. But like I feel like if he just would have had someone singing and not him, it would have sounded better. So, and I guess judging it as a whole, like lyrically, I don't know. Some songs kind of caught on to me. Others didn't. I didn't really. I don't know. Maybe I'm a snob and I just didn't get into it. But I wouldn't say it was a bad album. It was creative. It just really gripped me. There wasn't anything too epic about it, with the exception of maybe 4 tracks.
All right.
Yeah, so that's my assessment of it.
Okay. Yeah, like as you said, like same with me, man. I first judge an album by if I can bob my head to it, and like I can bob my head to everything, but that's because of the context, because of Kanye's history and because it was the context. I would say it's a weird context. I know it's a weird thing to say. Like, context is such a small word, and it plays like such a big role in art, in how you perceive art. Like that's why people take art history, is because they need to understand what the art is referring to. There's symbols that change according to the context. So if you know the context, well, or you perceive the context in a certain way, you're gonna get a different vibe from the art.
This is what I thought about the whole this as a kind of bouncing off what you're saying though. I feel like Kanye is the context for the album though. Like
right.
What's that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like if this was his first album, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have stuck to anybody. But because he's this person and you've sort of, when you're a fan of an artist, sometimes the joy of the music comes from the context of who they've been and not just who they are now. And you have this context of Kanye from, college dropout, late registration, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and this sort of this progression of a producer becoming a rapper to becoming a
born again Christian.
Yeah, but even before that, becoming one of the biggest superstars on the planet, and then the Taylor Swift incident at the Grammys, George Bush doesn't care about black people, and then it's like there's implicitly like you're reading a whole book, whether you realize it or not, because you're processing like who him to have been all these years, and now this. And I feel like for me, the album is good under the context of who he is as a person, but as a standalone piece, if it were released anonymously, I feel like it would have less value.
That's right. What am I gonna say? I'm gonna say, he was a Christian his whole life. He was, let's say, no, he made Jesus Walks 10,
It was a dope song. It was a good
yeah,
song.
15 years ago, whatever, in 2006 or something.
Yeah.
So, like, God's been using him for a long time. Okay, if
He didn't agree with that.
yeah, I know he himself didn't agree with
Maybe,
it because
yeah. You could say that God was trying to work through him if he
yeah,
was all, and then Kanye was all up in his own
yeah,
whatever, his ego. Like I think when I watched an interview that he did with Big Boy, and he said something like when he made that song with Lil Pump.
mm-hmm,
You know that one, right?
yeah, that fucking weird ass song, yeah.
Yeah, where he's like dressed in this, I don't know, it's like a sports mascot suit or something.
It was from Roblex, bro.
Oh,
Boom,
so there was
Boomer.
context to it.
Yeah, like it's Roblex. It was a fucking weird song. It was such a weird song that I didn't even
It
bother
was
to
a
get
bad
into it.
song. Like there was nothing redeemable about it.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
just
glad you're
that.
not that much of a fan to.
No, no. I
Okay,
knew he fucked
good.
up there, and he
Yeah,
he he says the same.
yeah. He said something like that was satanic, like saying like you're such a such a hoe. I love it. Like, and then Lil Pump on there. I mean, Lil Pump's Lil Pump. I don't know if anyone even listens to him anymore. Like he's kind of old news, but uh,
Yeah.
my gosh, yeah, yeah. So he seems to have done a not a 180, but more like a 360 as to who he wanted to be or was aiming to be.
Hmm. Like a 360 into the fourth dimension. How about that?
Okay, I like it.
All right.
Yeah. So
Uh,
so
yeah.
so like why does Kanye West resonate with you so much? Because he doesn't resonate with me as much.
Right. Well, um, I remember the first time I listened to 808 and Heartbreak. That was my first. I listened to. I think it was amazing. I listened to Amazing. That was like the first song I downloaded, or maybe it was Love Lockdown, and I listened to it from we were like playing football, and then we went back to like it was recess. I still remember that. I still remember that pretty well. But anyway, like the first good music with a positive vibe that I listened to, first modern like music that I listened to that had a positive vibe to it was Kanye. Although amazing, Love Lockdown, like it just flows right. And starting with that, like as well that was the moment that rap changed. Besides, Drake came into the game, and Drake was heavily influenced by Kanye. Uh, I mean, he's just been a major influence in my life. He's the celebrity, the only American celebrity that I can relate to, and I'll explain why I relate to him. But he's also the only American celebrity that I have been influenced by through art for a long time. For most of my life, and the only one that I could I could play his music and vibe with it, like for During depressive moments, I would listen to 808 and Heartbreak, or like if I'm listening, or if I'm like hungover or something, I listen to Gorgeous from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Um, and I've never been a rock star. I've never been a superstar, nothing. But I always imagined myself to be true to myself. Like I always wanted to. I feel bullshit, right? Or I thought I felt bullshit. Well, no, I think I do feel bullshit even now. In my mind, I was always this person that could feel bullshit and that responds to bullshit. And Kanye, you know, he always said was what was on his mind. He always uh, acted according to his feelings. That was him on celebrity entertainment news, uh, and in real life, and in what he did and his actions according to his career. If he didn't vibe with Jay-Z, then he would break off relations with him, or if or with Drake, same thing. And I'm kind of babbling here. Uh, but I would say he was the only American role model, right? My dad was my biggest role model in general, but he was from the Russian culture. Now, when you speak in a different language, you're a different person. It's proven. You have a
Hmm.
different personality. So, in America, or when speaking in English, or when thinking even in English, I'm an American. And as an American, I've been most influenced by Kanye West. This was my role model. This was the person that I wanted to be. And, something didn't vibe with me. There was something that was missing in his character, right? He was a guy that spoke the truth. He was a guy that was like just right, just right to himself. But at the same time, he drank, uh, fine, smoking weed, whatever. But like he did all sorts of fucked up shit. Not like super fucked up shit. Like he didn't beat up anybody, or besides the paparazzi. But there
They,
is something missing. Uh-huh.
they deserved it.
Yeah, I would say that's what you should do. And also, Jesus took a sword to the money changers. So there's some people that you can take violent action against. And paparazzi, man, they're vultures.
He didn't take the sword.
What do you take?
I think he just shook up the tables or started knocking him down.
Uh, in like the Bible itself, that's what I said.
Yeah,
Okay. I-
fact, but
okay.
still, the point's relevant.
Yeah, there's some people you should take violent action against. But anyway, there was something that was missing from his life. Also, Jesus walks. He made Jesus walks, but at the same time, eh, just like that little something, and that little something was God Almighty. Like, so when listening to the song, I was the same. I'm like, I still am the same because listening to this album, I'm still on my own path, and I still do. I'm drinking wine right now. I still do like messed up stuff, and I still like fiend after women, but I'm fucking 22 years old. Maybe I shouldn't have said my age. Fuck it.
Do you,
Um,
do you feel like this album has helped you in overcoming your vices?
no, I feel like this has directed me into understanding, I guess, that like as in Hinduism, like there's steps towards sainthood, and one of those steps is to make a family and to raise children. And before that, sorry, same with Sparta, right? You go off to war, and then you come back from war, and you start a business, and after that, you become a philosopher. In Hinduism, I think it's like you make a business because there wasn't as many wars or something, or wasn't such a warlike culture. In Hinduism, it's like you make a business, You provide for a family, your own family, and then you go off like once your kids are grown up, you go off into the woods. So right now, I guess it's Kanye is 40, 43 or something, 42, and I'm 22. So I guess I've got like 20 years to
He's
battle with these
old enough to be your
demons. Huh?
He's old enough to be your dad.
Yeah. I wish I was half black. That would be cool. But no, I'm glad that I have the Russian influence because I think that's what is in this. If you want to get deeper, do you want to get deeper now? I guess I'm gonna say.
Sure, why not?
All right. So in the Christian tradition, uh, there's the father, there's the mother Maria, and there's the baby. And the mother has infinite knowledge. The father has infinite potential. No, I'm sorry. The baby has infinite potential. The father is strength. I'd have to like clear this up, but there's like some kind of
Where,
like
what source is this? Is this Orthodox Christianity? Is this like what?
uh if it was Orthodox, yeah, it would be like Eastern Orthodox. It would be Gnosticism. It'll be the religions where Sophia is an accepted like member of the family, like Sophia instead of Maria,
Okay.
instead of Mother Mary. Anyway, these two forces combined, the mother and the father. The mother is the material, the father is the unknown or the
Isn't
potentiality.
I think the female is all like the unknown or the unformed is almost always female, and it's the male that forms it. No?
According to a different religion. Yeah, you can flip it around.
Okay.
Um, but there's that duality, and then there's the baby that comes out, and the baby is pure. He is part of both, and he does something. He goes out into the world. What does he do? He has to live life. Well, okay, fine.
So this what you get into is there's a really good book called Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I don't know if I'm saying the last name correct. And he's a German guy. Really, really great book. He's also a really great author. But he kind of talks about like it's my understanding of the book when I read it, and I've read it twice, but it was years ago since the last time I read it. It deals with a guy who is raised and named Siddhartha, and it's sort of like a westernized Buddhist story or Eastern philosophy story. And he starts off and he's like a Brahmin or whatever they're called. He lives an ascetic lifestyle, and he realizes that that isn't for him, and he goes on like he tries to live that lifestyle and then he moves on and he ends up becoming a sort of like a very sensual person, and meets a woman and makes love to her and um, ends up creating a child, but I think he ends up leaving the child and the wife,
Hmm.
and he just keeps on wandering, and he finds like another person who's like is a who just like rides these boats across the river, and then he starts like learning from that guy, and he just this it's a little fuzzy in my mind, but the whole story is about him going through all these different phases in life where you have this your like asceticism, your refraining from the world's pleasures, and then your indulgence in them, and then your engagement in the world, and then your denial of the world. This kind of this back and forth progress of going through these different stages of life. There's also another book from the same author called Narcissus and Goldman, which also talks about these narcissists who, I think this is right, who basically becomes like a bohemian hedonistic artist, and Goldman who becomes a monk, and they start off like in the same path, and then they go over, and it's like this kind of Apollo versus Dionysus dichotomy. But I
Mhm.
think that in life that you kind of have this. It's just what interests me about life is that you have like people really straddle this line, which I think is really what is the epitome of Kanye West, where you're straddling this line between hedonism, egoism, fame, and pleasure, and then also this sort of piousness before God and humility. And like I don't even know if I have a point in in me trying to say this, but I think that like that's the human condition is that we have a part of ourselves that is striving to obtain this ideal that is
Mhm.
either a product of some inner spiritual knowledge or perhaps conditioning from our family or both. And then we just have the reality that we live in, which is not congruent to that at all sometimes. I don't know. What do you think about that?
The drive for death or the drive for life. Like naturally, naturally a person is supposed to live, but he also does destructive things. I don't know. So psychologists have talked about it, and I don't think they've gone as far as the mystics into this duality. Um, and I myself, I'm not that familiar. I think as you know yourself, you find out where you're going. But I think most people, like okay, when you're a child, all you want to do is live. I think it's the system, I guess. Like the system that you're under. All systems die, but we still live like under schools and masters and authorities and people that want to bring you down for some reason. And we learn a way of thinking that drives us against the authorities, but also against living itself, because like we live under authorities, so we have to go against living, and that's where we get those destructive tendencies.
What
Because
do you mean? Like how like what are we doing again? Like how is living under authority causes us to tend towards destruction? Why are we going against the authority though? And how is going against that
because
death?
you have foreign direction. You have people directing you instead of you directing yourself according to what you are, like according to what you feel and your previous influences and that kind of thing. Not even the influences, but like people are born confident in themselves completely, like confident in their actions, and they do what they want.
I don't know
They're
about
born
that.
like
I mean,
you don't know.
how can you make that statement? Like you're as a child, your job is to figure out what things are and you imitate
Right.
people. Like you as a
That's right.
child, you're just imitating.
That's right. Us as Homo sapiens,
No homo.
no homo. Thank you.
Psychoanalysis. Okay,
Right.
sorry.
So just based on our nature, we're supposed to be raised until we're 10. So
Really?
evolution, yeah. Well, that's what I've heard.
You've heard?
Yeah, I
I don't
heard
know if
from
that's
like
true,
Nova
man.
Science Now and stuff. Like a a, a parent is supposed to provide for you until like you're 10 because you just don't know enough, or that kind of thing. Although there's feral children that grew up with wolves and still survived for like 3 years. I can say that's a phenomenon, but somewhere I heard that, and it makes sense. Like I think I would argue that like cats and dogs and just like animals in general are usually stay with the family, stay with the mother until they reach puberty, and maybe they'll go out and make their own pack. And us, we reach puberty at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, 15, 16, I don't know. I want to include the fucking weirdos that reach puberty when they're 18. Shalom. uh, so yeah, we have a lot of time to learn a lot of rules, and if we were animals, then we would just do what animals do. But since we have creativity, we have art, we have we have something abstract to us. That I think that's what separates us from animals, is that we can think abstractly, and we can think in symbols. See, wow, as I go deeper into it, symbols are influenced by the culture, so all you are is the symbols, but you also know the truth. I think there is a truth human in the human, what is it, subconsciousness, or no, collective consciousness. I think there's a collective truth too. I think everybody knows that, and everybody should follow that. But since that's so subconscious, that's subconscious behavior, and there's a lot of things to add on to that, you kind of lose that collective truth. And that collective truth being God, or being, good to your fellow neighbor, or being like the Ten Commandments, that kind of thing. You lose that underlying base, and you replace it with being a sued, and like, just being false and
And this relates to Jesus is King, and that's why you should listen to the album.
Is that sarcastic or no?
Yes and no.
All right.
I feel like, because that's basically somehow you're connecting it to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and it's basically so just to kind of sum
no,
it up.
but there was some
Okay.
kind of bridge between Jesus is King and like what I got into.
Do you want me to say the bridge, or do you
What
want to
was the
say?
bridge? I
Well,
don't know.
I think if you're gonna get into Jungian psychology, Jesus is like
Ah,
he
yeah, yeah, yeah. The baby.
he's the baby, and
Oh my God. We got far along. Right.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
baby.
I wanted to just give a little direction to this to make it kind of have a nice smooth ending. So in
All right.
Jungian psychology, and you can add on to this, the Jesus is sort of like the psychological remedy that what helps balancing the unconscious and the conscious, because Jung said that, if I'm gonna paraphrase it, but if you don't make the subconscious conscious, it will stay with you your whole life, and part of your individual growth process is to manifest that in some way, you know. And I think so. If that's, in a way, I from my understanding, that's the role of Jesus in the context of Christianity. And this album,
Manifest what exactly?
what's that?
Manifest what exactly?
Your subconscious, or remedying whatever is weighing you down, your sins, and like by manifesting it could also just be finally repenting of it, or whatever it is. I'm not a minister. I'm not a psychologist either.
Right.
But
It's just,
I think when you talk about Jungian psychology, I think if you want to go and project some Carl Jung onto Kanye, I think maybe this album is Kanye West finally reconciling his faith and his fame all at once. And that's what makes it powerful.
right. Reconciling the ego, turning it into the right direction.
Yeah.
To the ego. Oof. Okay, but see, like you said that reconciling the subconscious, and the subconscious could be repressed desires, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make a distinction between the subconscious truth and subconscious desires. Uh, I think that in his life, Kanye made those subconscious desires like real, manifested, like being rich or fucking a lot of bitches, that kind of thing. But he repressed the collective truth or what is good, and
Mm.
that's Jesus. Jesus, and I say Jesus because you said Jesus manifested his subconscious. Well, so the subconscious can be like full of evil. Like you might dream about like fucking some
Okay.
weird
Okay.
shit, and I'm saying, bro, I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, no, good point. Good point. Well, no, Jesus
So
is
the
the
journey, I would say, is if the
is the
baby. What was that?
like I think Jung would say like Jesus is the act of psychological alchemy because he turns water into wine. He turns those base desires into good ones. No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
okay.
agree with that.
There we go. Okay. So this is like the
Um,
purification, of this Gnostic alchemical Christian process. Transmute that passion into
um,
an album, which I like less than all the other ones. But hey, props to him for following his heart.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what would you say? Like, okay, in that Trinity, what is the baby?
The baby. I guess Jesus, right? Jesus is the baby.
Right. But like, what is the baby supposed to do? What is the purpose? What is the meaning
The
behind that
baby
trilogy? Like,
to make mistakes and then assume the role of a father eventually.
right,
Hopefully with wisdom.
right.
Yeah,
In
so
short, you said it concisely.
yeah. So I guess
Man, it says I have a poor connection.
oh no.
Yeah, that sucks. Okay. Anyway, continue. I guess we'll work with what we got.
No, I feel like we've sort of come to a head in psychoanalyzing uh Jesus as king.
You mean like we're done?
Are we?
Um, Man, I feel like I'm preaching.
Yeah, yeah, man, but finish the sermon. You've been listening to Kanye. You've got to spread the word.
Yeah, I'm entitled. I've got from my resume. I've listened to Jesus King.
Hallelujah. Okay.
If you keep God in mind, then you will find a way. And Kanye is a good example. It seems like ever since puberty, this guy's been like trying to conquer the world, even though the world is nothing. The material is nothing compared to the infinite. Um, so man's been trying to do that his whole life, and he's done it. He's got like a $3 billion company. He's got a he's got the wife that I jacked off to like several times. I'm sorry, Kanye. I'm sorry, me. Uh, but he's got it all. He's got the life he wanted. He's conquered the material world. He's gone through the stages according to which many cultures have thrived under. And now he's found God. Now he's preaching the gospel. Now he's teaching the youth. And the youth is us. The youth is those people that sometimes forget God. sometimes forget the truth and what is right. But should always keep that in mind.
Now, folks, you see, a child is not a matter of age. A child is based off of it is based off of your spiritual maturity. Okay? So if you are spiritually lost, you are a child needing instruction from the good shepherd.
God damn. You do it better than I do. Praise Jesus. Dude, I'm sorry, man. I've been watching. Oh my God, dude, I've been watching the Boondocks so much.
So.
Yeah, dude.
I'm Uncle Ruckus, and
Oh my God.
yeah, I've got
Dude,
a
you sound
pretty
exactly like him.
Ruckus impersonation. Oh, that white woman over there, she's got a good, you know what I can do.
Wow.
Oh yes, bless the white Jesus. Okay, all right, guys. This is one hell of a way to end the podcast.
Is it?
I'm gonna bless y'all. I'm gonna bless y'all in my voice of Uncle Ruckus. This has been the Darren Gold Podcast, and we thank y'all for tuning in. And it was a good time, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Please comment, subscribe. We need the attention desperately. We need the validation. We talked about going through spiritual journeys, guys. We need to get as famous as possible. Just learn to be like Kanye West, because he's the example. He's the prodigal son, and most of us are too stupid to learn from living righteously, so we have to make mistakes. So help us get money and power, so we can then learn that those things weren't important to begin.
Oh no. Ah, man, people are gonna come up to this. People are gonna listen to Jesus is King and be converted, and they're like, "This is fame. What is fame? Fame is against Christ." Man, he gotta be like subtler than that. We're talking about God.